I gotta be honest with you, Eagles fans. This is exactly the kind of headline you hate seeing right when it feels like this team is building something special again. Because when a young player finally starts looking like he is ready to become a real difference maker for this defense, the last thing you want to wake up to is news that suddenly throws questions around his judgment. His maturity and weather distractions are about to follow this team into the new season. And the frustrating part is this did not happen during some chaotic rookie phase anymore. This comes at a moment where the Eagles clearly believe this guy is becoming part of the future core of the defense. Expectations are higher now, responsibility is higher now. And honestly, fans were starting to feel really excited about what this defense could become heading into the season, but now there is a completely different conversation happening around the team. Not because of football, not because of performance, because of a decision off the field that suddenly puts unnecessary attention on the organization all over again. And trust me, once you hear the details behind what allegedly happened here, you understand immediately why this story blew up so fast and why people around Philly are reacting the way they are. So before we get into all of it, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to Eagles Insider Daily if you are new, and help us get to our first 700 subscribers. If you are the kind of Eagles fan that lives and dies with every move this team makes, you are in the right place. Now, here is what happened. According to ESPN and reports out of Georgia, Philadelphia Eagles pass rusher Nolan Smith Jr. was arrested in Twiggs County after authorities accused him of speeding and reckless driving on the interstate Friday night. And the details are what immediately made this story explode. Authorities reportedly said Nolan Smith Jr. was clocked driving 135 miles per hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone around 10:41 at night. That is not just driving fast. That is the kind of speed that instantly turns a traffic stop into something much more serious legally and publicly. The Twiggs County Sheriff's Office told ESPN that Smith was arrested and accused of both speeding and reckless driving. And once that number, 135 miles per hour, got attached to the story, you could feel the reaction from Eagles fans immediately shift from shock to frustration. Because this comes at a really sensitive moment for Philadelphia. The Eagles are getting ready for organized team activities. The coaching staff is trying to keep the focus entirely on building momentum for another championship run. And Nolan Smith Jr. was supposed to be one of the biggest positive storylines heading into camp. That is what makes this so disappointing. This is not some fringe roster player fighting for a practice squad spot. This is a former first-round pick that the organization has invested heavily in since the moment Howie Roseman and the front office drafted him in 2023. And honestly, fans finally started seeing why the Eagles stayed patient with him. After entering the league out of Georgia, where he helped win 2 national championships, Nolan Smith Jr. slowly began developing into a real impact player for this defense. During the 2024 regular season, he recorded 6.5 sacks. Then, in the playoffs, he elevated his game even more with 4 additional sacks during the Eagles' Super Bowl run. That matters because those numbers showed real growth. You could finally see his explosiveness translating consistently at the NFL level. His role in the defensive rotation kept growing. Coaches trusted him more. Fans trusted him more. And there was genuine belief that he could become one of the core pass rushers of the future alongside the rest of this young defensive group. That is why this arrest hits differently. The Eagles already dealt with enough distractions over the last couple of years. They do not need another offseason headline pulling focus away from football, especially when expectations around this team are massive again. And there is another layer here that honestly makes the situation worse. This is not the first traffic-related issue connected to Nolan Smith Jr. back in 2022 while he was still at Georgia. He previously faced a traffic-related charge there as well. So now people are naturally asking whether there is a pattern developing here. And that is where the concern starts growing, beyond just one isolated mistake. Because talent has never really been the question with Nolan Smith Jr. The Eagles believe in his ability. The locker room believes in his ability. Fans absolutely believe in his ability. But when repeated off-field driving incidents start showing up, people begin wondering about decision-making and maturity. Fair or unfair, that is just reality in the NFL. Especially for first-round players expected to become foundational pieces of a championship-caliber roster. And you know what makes this even tougher for Eagles fans? This defense is entering a huge year. There is pressure on the pass rush to remain dominant. There is pressure on younger defenders to take bigger leadership roles. And after the way Nolan Smith Jr. finished last season, there were real expectations that 2026 could become his true breakout year nationally. Instead, now the conversation changes. Now reporters are asking about legal issues. Now fans are debating accountability. Now the organization has to answer questions it absolutely did not want entering the summer. And look, nobody is saying this suddenly erases the player he became last season. It does not erase the sacks. It does not erase the playoff impact. It does not erase the belief this organization has in him. But it absolutely creates an unnecessary problem at the worst possible time. Especially because, in Philadelphia, fans care deeply about accountability. This city will support players through mistakes. Absolutely. But Eagles fans also expect players to understand the responsibility that comes with representing this franchise and driving at that alleged speed. There is no easy way for fans to defend that. Now, the Eagles will wait for the legal process to play out, and everybody inside the organization is probably hoping this situation stays contained and does not grow into something bigger before the season starts. But emotionally, I think a lot of Eagles fans are sitting in the exact same place right now. Disappointed, frustrated, and honestly just tired of seeing avoidable stories take attention away from football, because this team has the talent to compete for another championship. The roster is loaded. Expectations are sky high. And Nolan Smith Jr. was becoming one of the most exciting young defenders on this roster. So hopefully this becomes a wake-up call and not the beginning of a bigger problem. Because on the field, the Eagles need him. But off the field, they need maturity from him too. And Philly fans are going to be watching very closely to see how he responds from here. If you made it this far, drop your honest opinion in the comments. How concerned are you about Nolan Smith Jr. after this news? And do you think this affects how the Eagles view him moving forward? And if you are enjoying the channel, hit that like button, subscribe to Eagles Insider Daily, and help us reach our first 700 subscribers. If you want daily Eagles coverage from real fans who actually care about this team, you are going to love being part of this community.